Well, I want to encourage our viewers to call in and share your views and comments with us around this story and some of those details. But joining us in studio to discuss this is Unathi Sonwabile Henama, tourism lecturer at Tshwane University of Technology. Also joining us on the phone line is Belinda Nauschutz, real estate agent. And joining us in studio as well is Siyabulela Gentile, Chief Executive Officer and co-founder of #Not in My Name South Africa. Good evening to you, gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us here on ANN7 Prime. Sia, I'm going to start with you. Over the last couple of months, we've seen numerous stories, graphic stories, of young women being killed at the hands of their boyfriends, husbands, and lovers. #Not in My Name was created to be a voice against this sort of behavior.
Yes.
Another beautiful young woman killed at the hands of her boyfriend. Your reaction?
Yes, thank you very much. I should state that Not in My Name SA, we are very sad to have this tragic incident that has happened. Indeed, the foundation and the reason solely the movement was created was to counter such evil acts, to call men into action, to say that they should take collective responsibility against gender-based violence, femicide, and rape culture. So it's just a matter of time. We are still waiting for the law to take its course until we can do something as activists. But we'd like to state that we are very devastated, and we want to say that justice must be served either way, and Not in My Name SA will be with the family all the way throughout the case. It's just that now there's a lot of speculations around the case as to what actually transpired on that day.
Was it murder?
Was it murder? Was it suicide? So we are still waiting on the police to play their part, and we as the movement, we've got full confidence on our justice system. We are trusting on them to take decisive decisions, and then as the movement will step in there and give the family necessary support that they deserve.
Mr. Nama, let me come to you and briefly chat on another aspect of the story, and that is security in these high security complexes in the country. Looking at stats from Stats SA, these sort of violent crimes and burglaries are actually on the rise in these secure estates. Should South Africans be concerned? Are South Africans still safe behind these high walls?
I don't think anyone in South Africa is safe, you know. Beyond these fountains of opulence, behind the high walls, there is a mass population that is unemployed and unequal. I think the latest stats indicate that 1 in 2 South Africans are unemployed and poor. And unfortunately, whether you are on the other side of the wall, they will come across you. So unfortunately, the high levels of lawlessness in South Africa is the biggest dividend of our democracy, because since 1994, there is more security that we are procuring. There are more burglar bars we are putting in, but that is still not enough. So we must come with a multi-pronged approach to deal with the crime problem. Building more prisons is not the solution. We have to fix society, the broken societies, the broken communities, before we can achieve better outcomes in ensuring that there is law and order in the country.
And speaking on the issue of society, do you think that we can agree or sense that South Africans who live in these high walls and in these secure estates are maybe a little bit too comfortable? I mean, you hear of instances where people leave their doors unlocked and the windows open, saying that we live in a secure estate, nothing is going to happen to us. Should South Africans be a little bit more careful and a little more vigilant maybe?
I think everybody must be vigilant, but isn't that how life is supposed to be? Isn't that how life is supposed to be everywhere where you stay, where you're able to forget the door and not be worried at night? So unfortunately, this must not be the exclusive preserve of these high security centers, but it should be a daily reality for South Africans. So hence I'm saying that we must find a multi-pronged approach to deal with the crime problem. It's not about building more prisons, it is about better law enforcement, but also creating a deterrent in society that crime does not pay. I think since 1994, the crime levels have gone way high because we've not created a system of a deterrent.
Well, I want to invite our viewers to join in this discussion. Do you live in one of these secure estates? Do you feel safe in those estates? Also, what is your view with regards to the high violence we've seen against the women in this country? But joining us on the phone line now is Brigadier Sabata Mokwabane, Northwest SAPS spokesperson, joins us on the phone line. Good evening to you. Thank you for joining us here on ANN7 Prime. time. Is it possible for you to maybe share some further details with us with regards to this alleged, I don't know if we should call it a murder or a suicide that took place in Hartbeespoort?
Okay, good evening and good evening to your listeners and your guests in the studio. The only thing that we can say at this stage is what we actually said earlier during the day, to say that currently we are investigating a case of inquest. We have opened this case based on the allegations that we got when the incident was reported to the police. And basically, the information we received was that Lebogang allegedly stabbed herself actually several times with a knife. Hence, we are investigating a case of inquest.
With regards to the conflict of views or conflict of interest that's happening, a lot of questions around whether this was a murder or whether this was a suicide. Do we have access to the CCTV footage maybe of that estate to help uncover this mystery?
Look, our investigation is open. We will do everything possible to make sure that we collect all evidence that will assist us in this case. We are actually even inviting any other person who might be having information that suggests that Lebogang was allegedly murdered to come forward and see the investigating officer. That information will assist us a lot in terms of our investigation.
Just lastly, Brigadier, there are reports suggesting that Lebu contacted her mother a few minutes before this incident took place, stating that she had been drugged and she is feeling unsafe. Are you aware of this?
The only thing that I can confirm is that, yes, she was allegedly given a phone to call her mother. Yes, then it means that she talked to her mother before she died. But then as to whether she was drugged or not, then that is not something that I can confirm at this stage. But yes, she was offered a phone to give her mother a call.
All right. Thank you very much, Brigadier, for your time and sharing with us some of those details. That was Brigadier Sabata Mohwabane, Northwest SAPS spokesperson. We've got a viewer who's called in, Temba from Val. Good evening, Temba. What's your view or comment?
How are you?
Temba, you may share your comment or question with us, please.
Yes, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
I'm fine. Look. We have a serious problem with the forensic of our South African police. There's a lot of cases in this country that are just going down on the drain, flushed it with water. The investigation, I don't believe that there's a person that he can like snap herself with a knife several times. I'm not a police, but it's not takeable. In fact, I can't take it even on my own. Look, seven times. You can even check it and try it on your own. Never do that. And I think the police, they must do the best their work to make sure that person who did that, they find him. Seriously so.
All right, thank you very much, Temba, for your comment, although we wouldn't encourage anyone to check it and try it on their own. Let me come back to you, Sia. Yes. A very important comment, though, by Temba there is that he doesn't necessarily fully trust the forensics of the South African Police Service. I mean, we're seeing hundreds of these sort of cases come to the fore, and it takes years for them to find some sort of conclusion or solution. Your view to that comment?
Yes, I think Temba, we should allow the law, as I said initially, to take course and to allow all the proper investigations that are supposed to take place to do that exactly, because even now they are still waiting for the post-mortem to actually get a clearer view or perspective of what has happened really, if she did commit suicide or she was actually murdered. But I must state that as Not In My Name South Africa, we are very curious as to the security state of the Pick and Hood place there. We need to know if there aren't any surveillance cameras and things like that, and we need to know who was responsible. Those security guards, they must tell us exactly what happened, because I would agree with Themba partially that it doesn't make sense that somebody can just decide to cut themselves and stab themselves
multiple times
at that. So there's a lot that is going on in this story. I can't seem to connect the dots. There's a lot of I feel that there's something that we are not being told here. And as I said, I would encourage everyone, every South African, to actually remain calm and wait for the outcomes of the post-mortem and all the necessary investigations to take place. And then we are going to take it from there. But most definitely, the family is going to get justice for their daughter. We are not going to let it slide.
We definitely hope that they do. Mr. Nama, yes, I was going to ask you to comment.
But Sia, on the other hand, let's check. She was in a high security,
estate, yes,
wealthy estate on the Harte Piers. And like I always bring it back to the vast majority of South Africans who live in situations where they must undertake mob justice to ensure that their areas is a no-go area for criminals. So these are two flip sides, where on the other side you've got people who live in opulent places being unsafe, and also the poorest of the poor also being unsafe. So this is a general problem across race, class, and gender. Even our foreign nations are not safe. So we don't need a national symposium. We need leadership on the issue of crime. We need national leadership to say we are down with crime, and we ensure that all of our state organs work correctly in coordinated way to ensure that we stop the crime issue from the criminal justice system to the courts, everywhere, from the police. And also this issue of the informal tax, which is bribery, which has negatively impacted on the criminal justice system, that must also be addressed. So hence I speak about the multi-pronged approach.
We will elaborate a little bit on that. I just want to encourage our viewers once more to please call in and share your views with us. We've got Cindy from Pretoria on the line. Good evening to you, Cindy. What's your question or comment?
How are you?
Well, thank you very much. Yes, Cindy, you may continue.
I do not believe that she committed suicide. It's so impossible.
Okay, why do you say that?
I mean, the place is very secure. Why don't you guys look at the cameras? Maybe something could have happened. I don't believe she killed herself. No, I just don't believe it.
All right. Cindy, as a woman in South Africa, do you feel safe where you live, whether you live in a secure estate or in a normal home or in a township? Do you feel safe as a South African woman?
No, I do not feel safe at all. I don't. We as women in South Africa are not safe, because a lot of things are happening, and we've seen several murder cases and heard a whole lot of things, so we're not safe at all.
Thank you very much for sharing your views with us this evening. We've also got Richard from Bella Bella on the phone line. Good evening to you, Richard. Thank you for joining us. Your question or comment? Richard, good evening. Are you there? Do apologize. We seem to have lost Richard. See, I'm going to come back to you. Hearing from a South African woman on that phone line, she doesn't feel safe in her own country. Are we doing enough here?
We definitely not, that I must say. But we are doing something, more especially Not In My Name SA. When we started, it was a group of men, as I said earlier, that wanted to take collective responsibility, and not only collective responsibility, but corrective measures as well. It was fortunate that we are joined by women later on, but I would like to say that it's not a one-man's job, it's not a one organization's job. It's something that all of us as South Africans should look into, and if ever we want to make South Africa a gender-based violence-free country, and I understand the frustrations as with any other lady in South Africa. Women are generally not safe, especially into the contemporary South Africa now. Women's gains, they unfortunately they are coinciding with their safety physically, especially. In fact, there's men, 30% of men statistically, they don't believe that it is actually wrong to hit women. So we are faced with a situation of I always say that the country is suffering from patriarchal hangover. So we are dealing with a lot of issues here. We are dealing with toxic masculinity, and it's things that we need to address. And I always say that women don't rape themselves, women don't abuse themselves. It is men that are doing this. So if we are to say we want to effectively deal with gender-based violence, femicide, and rape culture, we must start with our young boys. It is unfortunate that the results of our actions will not be immediate, but we are hoping that in a generation or two that will come after us will definitely reap the benefits. But for now, we can only trust the justice system and the law to take its course. But to answer you, the long and short of it, we are not doing enough until every woman in South Africa is free. Not only every woman, if I may just agree that we have a problem generally of crime. Just before we can put gender into it, we are a violent society, and it's unfortunate that people who suffer most at the helm of these incidences, it is women, and it has to stop. Not in My Name SA is there to call upon every woman and man in South Africa to stand together and say, not in my name will we going to allow such incidences to continue.
And I think it is important to note as well that men can also be victims. It's not, you know, a one-sided issue and a one-sided story. But Mr. Hanama, let me come to you and maybe bring you into that side of the conversation, the side with regards to gender-based violence. So your view to what we are seeing unfold in South Africa.
I think it's a ticking time bomb that must be addressed. You know, this issue of violence, especially in families, because it also has got a negative impact on children and future generations, you know, because a child who sees abuse in the family will also grow up and think that is right. So that must be addressed because it creates greater social problems in societies.
We've got another caller on the phone line to share their view, comment or question. We've got Cami from Johannesburg. Good evening to you, Cami. Thank you for joining us. Your comment or question, please.
Hello.
Cami, are you there?
Hello.
Hi, yes. Please share your question or comment with us. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I would like to say that I think it's physically impossible to stab yourself. I mean, psychologically, to stab yourself with the strength is impossible. Like, I really think it's impossible.
People are of that opinion, Cami. Thank you very much for sharing your view with us. We've also got Poison, if I'm not mistaken, from Sandton. Thank you very much for joining us. Your comment or question, please.
Hello.
Hi, good evening.
Yes, good evening. Yeah, what I'm saying, I think Sia is correct to say that let us wait for the postmortem, because now we'll be speculating. But obviously, it doesn't make sense for someone to stab herself or himself several times. It is highly impossible to do that. So I think maybe for now, let us allow the South African police services to do their own investigation, and also the postmortem to conclude in terms of the postmortem and get the results, what really happened. I think that it will actually assist us to understand what happened.
Indeed. Thank you very much for sharing your view with us this evening. Let's bring the conversation back into studio. Sia, something that caught my attention earlier was the high percentage of men you stated that don't think it's wrong to abuse or hit a woman. Just expand on that, because it is a shocking statement to make.
You know, I was actually shocked as well when I read the statement, and if you look at it, it's like that really. If you go down to our rural areas, you'll find that patriarchy there, it's a very serious issue. You know, our fathers believe that in order for the woman to listen to you, you must beat them physically and things like that. So it's a very shocking statement, but unfortunately, I'd like to believe that is true. And that I can attribute to a series of factors that I would have loved to elaborate on. Issues like apartheid. I always say this and I get backlash for saying it, but a black man was emasculated by apartheid. A black man was disrespected. A black man was made to feel like a little boy. And now post apartheid into the contemporary South Africa, the black man now needs to reassert all these violence masculinities, and now the closest person that there is the wife. Because if you check the statistics, it said that in fact in every 8 hours a woman is killed by their intimate partner before we take it outside. that could be the boyfriend or the husband. So another issue can be attributed to poverty. You know, black people are poor, and it stresses a black man the fact that they cannot provide materially for their families, and you know, they feel that they are useless, and the only way for them to reassure themselves, I'm not saying it's right, but that is what is happening, for them to feel that they're still the man of the house. They feel that they need to
show the
masculinity on women and things like that. So it's actually a series of issues that I believe that as a country, if we want to say we have effectively eradicated gender-based violence, rape culture and femicide, that is where we should be looking at. We need to deal with, I always say that back to the apartheid issue, it was more psychological than anything else. So we need to deal with the psychological aspect of the male. And I'm not saying that our actions are justified. Hence we have movements like Not In My Name SA. We are saying, first of all, we are admitting guilt. We are wrong as men of South Africa for abusing you. Secondly, we want to take responsibility and we want to include you to say, how can we become better husbands, better boyfriends, better fathers, better brothers to you. So it is reality, and we need to face it. Black men have a problem. In fact, not only black men, for that matter, men in general.
Yeah, definitely, it's across all races.
Yes, it cuts across all races. So as men, we have a problem, and until we actually admit that we have a problem, we cannot do anything to this.
Mr. Henama, I'm going to come to you to just respond and let me know if you agree or not with Sia, but we've got a viewer on the line. We've got Pat from Polokwane. Good evening to you, Pat. Thank you for joining us. Please share with us your comment or question.
Good evening, and good evening to all the presenters there.
Thank you.
I sometimes play golf at Peckenwood. And in my opinion, Peckenwood is a highly security estate. And if the woman allegedly stabbed herself in the open, then the videos, they will show what actually happened. But me, myself, in my opinion, I don't trust what the guards are saying. No one can do that to herself. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Pat. That seems to be the view of most of our callers, that it's highly impossible for someone to stab herself multiple times. But unfortunately, we are nearing the end of this conversation. Mr. Henama, I just want you to give your closing comments, please.
I want to agree with him. You know, South Africa is a sick society because we were too excited during the watershed moment of 1994 that we forgot that apartheid was a well-coordinated social engineering policy which had a negative impact on both blacks and whites and everybody involved. And then after 1994, we forgot that we had to come with another policy to come and reshape society. Hence, the majority of our social problems will always be linked to apartheid and the lack thereof. So right now, one of the fundamental issues that black families should be looking at is the teaching of black consciousness to the family so that it starts to reshape them, because unfortunately, we cannot be the people that say, we'll wait for the state.
You have to take action into your own hands sometimes and deal with those situations on your own. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us this evening and having this discussion with us. That was Mr. Unathi Sonwabile Henama, tourism lecturer from TUT. Also joining us in studio was Siyabulela Gentile, Chief Executive Officer and co-founder of #NotInMyName South Africa. I want to thank all of our viewers for calling in and sharing their views with us as well. But that's a wrap up from myself, Abigail Fasahi. Thank you very much for tuning in. Good night.